Hi, I'm Scott Mansell and welcome to the Drivers 61 channel. Now that was a very interesting British Grand Prix, especially in those last 10 laps after the safety car period where the 4 or 6 cars were all aligned coming towards the checkered flag. But the whole race was influenced by an incident between Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Räikkönen at the third turn on the first lap. Now Lewis was going backwards after making quite a poor start, and Kimi got alongside him coming through turn 2, and we're going to take a look at this incident in detail. Now just to let you know, I can't show you the incident in full speed, otherwise FOM will just take the video down, but we're going to go through it step by step and frame by frame to really analyse what happened and to see who was at fault. So after looking at all the angles that we have of the incident, the onboard with Kimi is certainly the best. And here we are coming through turn 2 on the first lap, coming around the outside of Lewis. You can just see Lewis's right front just here on the left-hand side of the frame. So we're in quite a good position because turn 3 turns right, and we're going to be coming down on the brakes quite heavily because we're full of fuel and we have slightly cold tyres. We've just been sat on the grid for a minute or so before the red lights went out, and this is the first heavy braking zone of the lap. The cars have come from being very light in qualifying into the race, so they're heavy. So as a driver, it's very difficult to know exactly where your tyre temperature is, exactly how the car is going to react the first time you get on those brakes heavily. So you would generally be a little bit careful coming into here, but obviously at the start of a race, it's a time where you can make up some positions and make some ground on your fellow drivers. So here we are, we've got both drivers, Lewis on the left, Kimi on the right hand side. Kimi's in the best position here because he's obviously got the line coming into turn 3. As you can see here, we've got the car in a straight line, so we've got that maximum braking force that's going to be going through the car, no steering angle in the car. Now the braking into turn 3 is quite tricky. I've raced on Silverstone GP many times, and the turn 3 generally tightens up and tightens up as you're coming in there, so you have to brake quite hard, but then you can release the brakes as you're coming in towards the apex. However, this position that Kimi is here, kind of on the right hand side of the circuit, means that turn 3 is going to be pretty tight for him while Lewis is coming around the outside. Now what's going through Lewis's mind is that if he can hang on around the outside through turn 3, he's going to be on the inside for turn 4 and he won't lose that position. So both of the drivers are coming in here. Lewis with the intention that he wants to hang on and go around the outside of Kimi, and Kimi with the intention of just getting in front of Lewis so he can run him out of track on the outside of turn 3, make sure that Lewis tucks back in before they then go into turn 4, and so Kimi can get away down the straight. So they're both the drivers' intentions as they're coming through turn 3. So as you can see at this point, it's very important for both of the drivers to get ahead because it's going to be a position gained or lost for both of them. So we're coming on the brakes now with Kimi here. Lewis is somewhere out of shot. He's somewhere just here on the left hand side, but for sure he'll have the car in a straight line to maximise the braking effect as we're coming down into the apex. And now you can just see Lewis here has actually got on the brakes a little bit later on that wide line. He's opened it up as much as he can so he can go around the outside. Now the other thing that Lewis is going to be thinking here is that he's in a bit of a vulnerable position in terms of if Kimi does make a mistake, which of course he does, but if he does make a mistake, he wants to leave him a bit of gap. As you mature when you're a racing driver, you realise that you need to give a little bit of room, especially in the first few laps of a race. So he's probably going to leave his car at least a car and a half width away from the absolute apex on the inside to give Kimi that space on the inside so they don't just come together on the apex. So Lewis is now bringing the car in. He is leaving that space, and you can see here, if you just look in the bottom right of the screen, that Kimi The front tyres probably aren't up to the temperature that he wants. He's left that braking a little bit too late and he's actually locked up that front right here. So at this position as a driver, it's a really horrible feeling, because you're coming down here, the gap as you're coming into the apex with the corner coming up and the car on the outside coming in, you feel like you're carrying too much speed into the corner and you're just praying that you're not going to come together with the car on the outside. You can see that the front right here of Kimi's car has now started to rotate again. So Kimi's just locked up a little bit and is locked up again now. So he can see that Lewis is coming across the track here, closing that gap, which he's fully right to do. He's leaving Kimi space, but he's not giving him too much space. He's thinking that Kimi will actually get the car slowed down to actually make the apex, which he isn't doing. You can see now with the steering angle that Kimi's got here that he's turning the car more with the steering wheel than the car's actually turning. So he's got understeer, it's got quite a lot of understeer here, and the car's just washing out. And Kimi will have his heart in his mouth at the moment, just thinking that he's going to be pushing wide into Lewis. Now Lewis almost makes it kind of past Kimi here, round the outside of him, but you know, Lewis is expecting Kimi to be completely on the curb here, right on the inside. And if Kimi was on that curbing on the inside, they both would have made it round together. Lewis would have nipped up, continued on the inside through turn 4, and Lewis would have been ahead of Kimi. However, Kimi is understeering. You can see here on the footage that they make contact just here. You can just see that kick with the front left here as they're coming together. It's not a massive hit, but at least they've gone wheel to wheel. Lewis gets a big kick of oversteer here and sends him into a spin. Lewis very cleverly here rolls backwards. He realises that he can't save this slide and rolls backwards to get out of the way of all the traffic coming through. So Kimi then went on to get a 10-second stop-go penalty. Whether that's enough or not, that's not for me to decide, but it was the right decision, in my opinion, from the stewards. This was 100% Kimi Räikkönen's fault. Lewis didn't do anything wrong here. So if you agree or don't agree, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this incident. Kimi actually did go on in the post-race interview to say that he did think that it was his fault. Hasn't really got a leg to stand on. Lewis gave him that room on the inside. He just went in too quick. Kimi went in too quick, understeered, hit Lewis, and that made the race much more difficult for Lewis than it needed to be. So thank you very much for watching. If you are a sim, track day or racing driver, please take a look at the Driver 61 University, where I explain the in-depth technique for driving on circuits, such as how to trail brake, how to left foot brake, and how to understand understeer, oversteer and weight transfer. Thank you very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you next time, and thank you very much.